Good morning to everyone. Namaskar. All the respected dignitaries present in this very special conference organized by BW Business World. I'm extremely delighted and honored to be amongst the very esteemed and I would say distinguished audience today. Myself having got the opportunity of kind of serving in one of the remotest parts of the country, Tripura, and then also working in Haryana, and right now I'm in Delhi. So all these years, definitely, I have seen the important contribution which our engineers have been doing all throughout these years. And it is not only in the infrastructure, it is going beyond. Recently we saw Srimati G. Madhavi Lata. Everybody read about her, everybody read about the story of her resilience, how India has, under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, how India is trying to becoming a world leader. And when we talk about India becoming a world leader, it is not possible unless and until we empower our citizens. And when we are discussing about empowering our citizens, it is also very, very important to kind of bring that change in terms of connectivity, in terms of access of resources, in terms of access to education and everything. So, recent example of the inauguration of the Chenab Bridge, which is the world's tallest bridge over the bed of a river, that shows what kind of planning, what kind of execution our engineers are contributing to development of this nation. So my congratulations to all the engineers to whom specifically this conference is dedicated, and my congratulations to the BW Business World team for organizing symposiums, for organizing discussions and dialogues on empowering our young generation on all these themes which are very, very important. Before I begin to delve on my topic, I would definitely like to speak on innovation for self-reliance. How can we kind of re-engineer the education, re-engineer the engineering education in the context of the climate change, in the context of AI, in the context of geopolitical shifts, which our country is very much part of. So before I begin, I would like to pay my humble tributes to Dr. M. Visvesvaraya, whom we know is the person whose birth anniversary is celebrated as the Engineers Day, National Engineers Day in our country. Former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sir, whom I have always followed as my mentor, even though personally I could only see him once in my lifetime when he visited my college and I was doing my graduation. Way back in 2002, he came to SRCC, Sri Ram College of Commerce. And that was a time when he, as the President of India, he visited, and the imprints which he had on us as students, they are truly remarkable. Sir always had this belief and faith in the power of youth, Yuva Shakti. And in one of his speeches, he actually had said that as a young citizen of India, empowered with energy, innovation, love and passion for my country, I realized that having a small aim is a crime. They are very, very powerful words, that when one is saying that, I realize that having a small aim is a crime. So definitely, we, the citizens of this proud country, none of us can aim to have a small aim, small dream. And that is why role of each one of us becomes very, very important. Last month, few days back, India saw how India retaliated and how India stood united against terrorism through the precision strikes, through the retaliatory actions under Operation Sindoor. And do we think that it was kind of a spontaneous thing or it was not planned? Even though I have not been a part of this, but as an administrator, I can very well say that lot of planning, lot of minute detailing, day and night work must have gone before that attack on the midnight of 6th of May was planned. And why it was necessary? India definitely cannot tolerate the acts of terrorism. The Pahalgam terror attack is condemnable. We lost 26 lives, innocent lives. And the way this terror attack was executed, it is a shame on humanity. Asking the religion of the victim and then murdering them. India, whether it is Operation Sindoor, whether it is Chandrayaan, wherein we have now India reaching up to the moon, after definitely some failed attempts. But all these show that we are arriving, and therefore it is very, very important that each one of us, how do we contribute? That is very, very important. I am myself not from the engineering background. I belong to a kind of a corporate profile. I shifted from corporate sector to civil services with the passion of serving the nation and society. CS, LLB, I did work in the corporate sector for a brief time, and then I started my preparation, and then I shifted. If I remember my time of working in Tripura way back in 2009-10, my first posting was as SDM Ambasa subdivision, which is a primarily tribal-dominated subdivision in district Dhalai. So when I joined that subdivision, first of all, I would not hesitate in saying that things were actually difficult for me to adapt to. Born in Delhi, having the native place in Panipat, Haryana, never stayed in the hostel except Labasna, Mussoorie. And then, after selection into civil services, after getting, in fact, ranked 13th in the batch, and even kind of shifting from the corporate sector, and then you are getting placed there. I very well knew that there will be a lot of challenges, but then what came to me, I took it as an opportunity. And why I'm mentioning the example of this subdivision is that there were few paras. Paras we saw in the we say in the local language is the local tribal hamlets where the tribal population stay. So those were the time that because of the issues of connectivity, you had to travel like 8 to 10 to 12 kilometers on foot, because the geographical area is like that there are river streamlets and rivulets, as we call, charas. In Bengali, we call them charas. So you have to cross those charas to reach up to those habitations. And the population which is staying is like 200, 250, not big one, small hamlets. But as a part of administration, it is our duty also to reach up to these people, because they are in general not able to come to the subdivision office or even to a block headquarter. Maybe they are not aware of, or maybe they feel it is not necessary. So when we reached there for my first camp in Maldapara, I could see that the village is having school, it is having an Anganwadi center, it is having a PHC, it is having a veterinary center, but all of them are kind of not working. Why they are not working? Because the staff which is posted there, they are not able to commute daily. How do we expect them to commute daily like this? Like for me personally, it became kind of challenging. It was interesting, but we could do because it was like once in a month or twice in a month we are doing. How we expect every day somebody who is posted there? So what we did was that I tried and speak to the BSF outpost commandant, because Tripura has the longest border with Bangladesh and India. So I requested the BSF commandant who was posted there, and they were very much helpful. They allowed their barracks to be used by the officers who were posted in the school, the PHC, the Anganwadi center. And then they used to stay there for 5 days in a week and then come back on weekends and then go back. So after 3 or 4 months of this kind of an exercise, when we again visited, I could actually see that yes, there is a lot of change, and at least the basic services are getting available. And now from 2009, if I talk about 2025, I really don't think so that any village in Tripura is not connected by road. Whether it is the national highways, whether it is the state highways, or it is the Employment Guarantee Act, the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, or whether it is the central or the state PWD departments. So this exercise over the years has ensured, and it is not only in Tripura, now you visit different parts of the country, you can see the way we are having connectivity improvisation. Even the airport at Agartala, that was earlier only a very small kind of a cabin kind of a structure in which hardly 2 or 3 flights used to operate, and from Delhi there was no direct flight. And now it is the international airport, and we have direct connectivity not only from Delhi, from different other cities of India. So this is the role of our engineers, this is the role of our policymakers, this is the role of our legislators, this is also the role of the officers who are posted in these areas. So when we are talking about India trying to achieve self-reliance, India trying to become Atmanirbhar Bharat, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, he has always kind of believed in the power of youth, and there are various schemes and policies which are promoting even the small startups. And India is now becoming a country which has the highest numbers of, one of the highest numbers of unicorn. I don't know the exact ranking, but yes, I was reading some report, I think it is in the top 6. So this is the innovation, and when we are talking about engineering education, when we are talking about re-engineering education, one thing is also very important, that there are lot of innovations now coming up. Everybody talks about AI, artificial intelligence, everybody, even the AV visual which was being placed from the Manav Rachna University. I have been posted in Faridabad in 2016-17 when I was in Haryana, and I know the founder members and the family of Manav Rachna University, and I also have got opportunity of visiting the campus of Manav Rachna University. The way not only this university, even other higher education institutions in India, because as part of my passion, I also visit colleges and universities across to interact with the students. I recently visited IIT Roorkee, various Chandigarh University, last week I was there. So the way now students have their ideas and innovations, I think that is par excellence. And what can be and what could be the role of AI? It can be like transforming your healthcare sector. It can be transforming your education. It can be transforming the way even the administration is working. Robotics, space, intelligence, even police for that matter now is using it. But then what is also important is that there are various, I would say, cautions which are associated with this. And I am not an expert on this. Frankly, I even don't use ChatGPT for that matter, because I feel that let my brain be working till the time I can use it. So there are issues of ethical concerns. There are various dangers also associated. So this is also for young generation to understand that whatever tool and technology is available to us, it has to be used in the right way. We cannot do away with our system of ethics and integrity in the age of modernization. Sometimes, there is always a discussion on hard work versus smart work. So everybody wants success very easily. जल्दी से कैसे प्राप्त हो, any shortcut. मैं civil services के aspirant से भी बात करती हूँ. अभी कल ही prelims का भी result आया है for the 2025, and now the students will be appearing for the mains examination. There's always a thing going in their mind, the younger generation I'm talking about, that how do we have success immediately? Is there any shortcut? Few days back, I was watching this movie, Three Idiots, with my kids. I'm sure most of you must have watched it. So one very important takeaway, dialogue जो उसमें आमिर खान के character का है, and he is telling his friends कि success के पीछे नहीं, excellence के पीछे भागो. If you have excellence, success will come to you automatically. कामयाबी के लिए नहीं, काबिलियत के लिए मेहनत करो. अगर आपकी काबिलियत डेवलप होती है तो कामयाबी डेफिनेटली आप अचीव करेंगे ही करेंगे. So friends, therefore this is important that we have to understand that yes, all these tools are available to us, but then we have to use them with morality, we have to use them with our ethics, and India is actually becoming a Vishwa Guru. So any Vishwa Guru cannot have a shortcut. This is our motherland, and we also owe an equal responsibility. The next important component which everybody now speaks is climate change. Climate resilience. Delhi as a state, from last 2 years, the area where I have been residing, in the Lutyens, it is experiencing floods, urban floods in Delhi. I don't know how much you all have read about this, but please do read. Last 2 years, 2023, 2024, in the month of June and July, there have been floods in Delhi, in the Lutyens area. Why? One very important reason is definitely this climate change, or what we call global warming, which is happening around. Right now, the northeastern states of our country, you read the reports, Assam, Manipur, they are also having floods. Something definitely is due to the nature, something is due to the topography, something is due to the geography. But when we are talking about the temperatures rising up, or when we are talking about monsoon getting erratic, when we are talking about the landslides, when we are talking about heat waves, why all of this is happening? Each one of us has to understand that yes, can there be a solution? Can the engineers think about having the idea of homes which are kind of heat resistant or which have some kind of a inbuilt coolants so that the utilization of ACs reduce, the consumption of air conditioners gets reduced. I don't know, like I am totally novice in this field. But these are all like we keep on reading. There are research papers also published on these. So can there be some solutions? Can there be some innovations? Can we adopt more green technologies? Can we have transport? When I was in Gurugram, the GMCBL, the Gurugaman city bus service, all the vehicles which were procured, definitely that was before I joined there, that was by the earlier officer. All the officers were electric vehicles, EVs, EV buses. So earlier in India, there was this notion ki how electric vehicles will work. And now we are seeing how this is getting adopted all across. And definitely we need more such models being adopted, more such innovations which are cost effective, more such innovations which are sustainable, which are affordable. How even a household now thinks about not buying a diesel or a petrol car, how they have to be kind of attracted towards buying a EV vehicle. Or even a CNG is a comparatively a better option, CNG vehicle. But then how many of us are using that? So this is a kind of an exercise that India, across all the dialogues, all the discussions, 2 years back, India proudly hosted the G20 presidency. We saw how the world leaders from different parts of this earth, they came to India. And there were symposiums across different cities, and it was not only in the metro cities. It was even in tier 2 cities. Agartala hosted the symposium on science and technology in April 2023. Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, it hosted the vertical on women empowerment. The G20 vertical on women empowerment. So these discussions, and also there was one vertical which talked about climate change, the New Delhi Declaration which was adopted after the completion of this symposium, that is also available in public domain. We can see that climate change, climate resilience is a common agenda which has been adopted across by all the countries which participated. So there can and there should be even more cross-country partnerships, cross-country linkages. And how can we learn from each other? That is also very, very important. The third thing which I thought I'll just briefly touch upon is the geopolitical shifts which our country is experiencing. One thing I mentioned in the initial remarks, Operation Sindoor, how India is proving its stand. And we have seen there are many countries which strongly stood with India. When the world was under COVID-19 pandemic, there was this, what would I say, there was this entire lockdown, there were crises, the cry for the vaccination, but even during those times, India, believing in this philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we under the vaccine Maitri, we supplied the vaccines to various other countries which needed. So is this not a moment of pride for us that yes, we have achieved independence like 75 or so odd years back, and now we are reaching up to a level we are not only developing our own self, we are also trying to empower the other countries. And therefore, when we are talking about this global geopolitical shifts, it also talks about empowering ourselves with technology. And engineers definitely have a very, very important role to play, whether it is agriculture, whether it is irrigation system, whether it is preparing the farmers, how they can protect their crop. Because still, India lives in villages. We are in Delhi, but the percentage of population which is staying in the rural area is still more than 50%. So these are also the area where we all need to think, we all need to collaborate. Software, digital, everything is very, very important, but also important are the issues ailing the rural part of the country. And when we are talking about the digitalization, Digital India Mission, few years back it was launched, and now we are seeing, as part of administration, I myself have seen so many changes in the way administration is delivering services. Earlier, for getting your certificates, for example, the birth certificate, your land records, your even death certificate, if a family needs, one would have to visit the office of the registrar, SDM, BDO, Tehsildar, and then only you can get the certificates, even after rounds of follow-ups. And now, under Right to Service Act, most of the state governments have all these data which has been digitalized. The land records are available online. You can apply online for all these certificates, and the Right to Service Act mandates the time frame within which the service needs to be given by the officer concerned. And if they are not able to give, then there is a system for even follow-up by the higher authority. Last year, in the month of November, I visited London for an international conference, and I was interacting with the students at the University of Westminster. And when there was a discussion on this story of digitalization, one student who was from Sri Lanka in the audience, he actually asked me that, ma'am, we have heard about UPI, we have unified payment interface, and then everybody is using this. Is whatever written in the media about this, is it genuinely true? So I said, ki, had you come to India sometime, maybe this question would not have arisen, because whether it is a rickshaw puller or whether it is a vendor who is selling coconut water, everybody is having a bank account linked with the Aadhaar, and you do not need to carry even a credit card or a debit card or cash. Nothing, only your phone is sufficient. And see the number of transactions, the scale of transactions which is happening on a daily basis. Friends, countries like Singapore, 50 lakh population is equivalent to population of Tripura plus Nagaland. I can very well say, because I have visited these areas, and the quantum of population which our country is catering to, despite all limitations, that actually is becoming a case study across the world. And engineers, policymakers, legislators, administrators, everyone has a very, very important role to play. And now coming to how can we re-engineer the education? That is also now a very, very important thing which is being discussed. NEP 2020, the National Education Policy 2020, has also kind of laid this emphasis on shift from rote-based learning to concept-based learning. How we should promote the conceptual learning or the clarity for the students. Teachers are advised to adopt such methods. And when we are talking about re-engineering education, we have a very important role, whether it is the institution or the university, whether it is the professors or the directors, the faculty members who are present there, even the parents, they have a very, very important role. Why? Because we just don't need to build, talented engineers. We actually need to groom them to become innovators and leaders. सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट क्या है कि हम एक नागरिक कैसे अच्छे बने. And we are also seeing how, like last week there was a discussion in the group. There was a social media post shared by one senior officer in the group of Haryana, and this statistics was on the pass outs from IIT Kharagpur and the placements which the students from IIT Kharagpur are getting across. So more than India, they are like going abroad. So this is also a cause we need to think that till how long we would be allowing our talent to migrate. It is also for us to kind of ponder and think, how do we have those opportunities for them? And also it is also responsibility on the job seekers to think how can they become job creators. It is not necessary for everyone to join a company. Everybody has some talent. Just identify, and we definitely need more entrepreneurs. And engineers, doctors से sharp brain कहीं मुझे लगता है नहीं होता है. And if I talk very crudely, जब स्ट्रीम सिलेक्शन की बात होती है 11th-12th में, तो जनरली ये ट्रेंड देखा जाता है कि जो सबसे मेरिटोरियस बच्चा है 10th में, जो लगता है पेरेंट्स को 9th-10th में अच्छे ग्रेड आ रहे हैं, इसको तो साइंस ही दिलवाएंगे. जो एवरेज बच्चा है उसको कहते हैं भाई तू कॉमर्स पढ़ ले, और जो लगता है बच्चा कि ठीक है पढ़ाई कंप्लीट कर ले, उसको बोलते हैं ह्यूमैनिटीज़ अडॉप्ट कर लो. एटलीस्ट मेरे टाइम में मैंने यही देखा है. Of course, there are variations. Some people who are in the top, they still want to go to humanities. And some people who are very good in their mathematics, but they will shift and they will take psychology in their graduation. So, ये जो divide है, ये जो distinction है, this is also getting blurred. And important वही है that we do what we love. Then only we would be able to sustain what we start. I actually would share my personal experience that 11th में मैंने science लिया था. I started with medical because I had felt कि मैं उस sector में जाऊँगी and I will work. But then मैंने जब पढ़ा 15-20 दिन के बाद ही मुझे interest नहीं आया. I thought कि no, I won't be able to sustain this. Even though marks जितने भी बायो के टेस्ट हुए, marks मेरे उस टाइम में भी ठीक ही आए, क्लास में अच्छे मार्क्स आए, लेकिन then I shifted to commerce. Because at that point of time only I realized कि no, this is not for me. So friends, ये भी एक point है कि ये ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपने इंजीनियरिंग में एडमिशन ले लिया तो आपको मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर में एडमिशन लिया है तो आप वही करेंगे. If at some point of time you realize that no, your destination, your manzil is somewhere else, there is no harm in shift. But that shift has to be very calculative. That shift has to be a rational, well thought of decision. It cannot be a random kind of a decision. And therein also comes the role of the faculty, therein also comes the role of peers, the mentors. How we are guiding the younger generation to take challenges in their lives. Unfortunately, even the students of IIT, the students of higher education institutions, we are seeing the reports of depression. We are seeing the reports of even suicides. How painful it is to hear these stories. How traumatic it must be for the parents and the family. So why to reach up to that level? Why to reach up to that stage wherein you are giving up from your life? It is not required. If you are not achieving this, shift. There are many options available. And also one very important thing which I feel still needs a kind of change, I would say, is the percentage of women who are entering into engineering, the percentage of women who are entering into medical. Last week I was interacting with one UPSC topper, AIR 53, Miss Shivani Panchal, who is from Haryana, Panipat district. And she, in her interaction, she said that, ma'am, she did her graduation from BTech from NIT Kurukshetra in Haryana. And she actually said that when she was selected in her batch, there were only 5 girl students. Only 5 girl students out of the entire batch. And this is recent time. 2000, I think 22 or 23, I think 2022 she graduated from her BTech. So just think over that. These are the recent statistics, recent data. India definitely needs more women, more daughters like Professor G. Madhavi Lata. We need more women to lead in science and technology. We have seen how Chandrayaan mission was led by women scientists. And it is also very, very important that we give equal access of resources in terms of education, in terms of opportunities to our girl child. The people who are present in this esteemed audience, they represent different parts of the country. You are working in industry, you are working in academia, you are working in the IITs, you are working in big corporates. All of you have lot of scope to contribute to these causes. Government definitely is doing its job. It's trying to do whatever best can be done. But also the corporate social responsibility or the public-private partnerships, they are also very, very important. So just think, how do we have more engineers coming from the rural areas? How do we have more engineers coming from the women counterpart? How we have more women representing the boards? How we have more women, entering into leadership profiles of all professions. These are all things when we are talking about India becoming a Viksit Bharat. So India cannot become a Viksit Bharat if the women counterpart are not given a due share. And it is not only that 8th of March, the Women's Day, we need to discuss about this. It is all throughout, every day. We have to devote time that what is happening around us and how can we contribute. So for the engineers, these symposiums are very, very important. What is important more is that how do we innovate? How do we innovate to cater to the local problems? How do we have solutions which are sustainable? How do we have solutions which are affordable? How do we have solutions which can be adopted in daily lives? That is, I think, the beauty or the strength wherein lies your roles and capacity. So dream big and build deep. Build deep and build sustainable. That is very, very important, and we should never forget that what we are aiming for. We are all aiming for contributing towards scripting nation's growth story. And I'm sure with the potential, with the capacity of each one of us, we are definitely going to contribute our part towards scripting nation's growth story. And before I conclude, I am just reminded of a very beautiful poetry by Mr. Prasoon Joshi. that I like to recite with you all. मेरी धरती मुझसे पूछ रही कब मेरा कर्ज चुकाओगे, मेरी धरती मुझसे पूछ रही कब मेरा कर्ज चुकाओगे, ये अंबर मुझसे पूछ रहा कब अपना फ़र्ज़ निभाओगे, ये अंबर मुझसे पूछ रहा कब अपना फ़र्ज़ निभाओगे, सौगंध मुझे इस मिट्टी की ये देश नहीं झुकने दूंगा, सौगंध मुझे इस मिट्टी की ये देश नहीं झुकने दूंगा, ये देश नहीं मिटने दूंगा, ये देश नहीं झुकने दूंगा. So every one of us has this capacity, role, and engineering education, re-engineering education for India becoming self-reliant, for India becoming an Atmanirbhar Bharat, for India becoming a Viksit Bharat is definitely a dream, is definitely a goal which we can achieve. And I'm sure with everybody's contribution, we would have bounds of development coming forth. And I would again like to thank the BW Business World team for giving me this opportunity, and my best wishes to the entire team. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.